Good. So, hello there. We are here with the lovely Sybilla to explain how to get involved in the property business or renting, selling or buying here in the UK. So, nice to see you.
Yes, and you.
Fantastic. So, I have a great privilege to be here with you because you are expert in this field. So, I would love to have a couple of things to be clear, to be clarified for people who are coming to the UK, not just from Hungary, from every countries, because it's quite popular to come here. But I remember when I arrived, I've been quite in a difficult situation to figure out how the system works. So if we could prepare some questions actually for people who are going to get into the office or agencies, what kind of questions they can ask and how can, firstly, probably everyone needs some renting because people are not coming with a huge money to buy a property.
Of course, yes. Well, generally speaking, what I would suggest when you go to any estate agency is that everyone will charge an administration fee. They vary in different costs depending on the agency. But these basically pay for your reference and credit checks, which we have to do, every agency has to do, basically to make sure you are who you say you are, that you have no CCJs, which are county court judgments, you haven't been declared as bankrupt, generally that you're going to be a good tenant and look after the property.
Okay then, so it raises one question for me. If somebody is just arrived to the country, how they can prove I have a good credit history and I am a good customer, so I will promise and I pay everything for you. So
yes. I mean, we will. Most referencing companies will still always do the reference and credit checks, even if you are from a different country. Yes, so if you do come from abroad, they will still obviously check if you've rented before or whether you live with your parents, anything like that. They will double check that as well. You don't have to be a UK resident. If you are a student, on the other hand, you do need a guarantor in the UK. If you do not have one, which I'll move on to, is when you have the difference in deposits. But if you are going to be working here as a professional, or if you are sponsored by a company, anything like that, that can also be reference and credit checked.
So this is not a free service,
no.
Neither for the people who are looking for rent.
No, I mean, we do pay for the reference and credit checks, and so every agency, of course, if you are interested in taking a property, you will have to pay this fee down, because we pay the company who reference and credit check you, and it's a fee for the agent, basically.
So we can move to the concrete situation for a kind of, if I just knock on the door and then step in and I would like to have some accommodation.
Yes.
So how the process would start?
Well, initially, of course, if you want to come in, you need to tell us what you are looking for, whether you like a studio, 1 or 2 bedroom apartment, house, what area, what's your budget, and whether you need parking or not, whether you need the property to be furnished or not. And then obviously we can go through the list of our properties and see what we have that's suitable for you.
That's lovely.
And then after that, of course, we could then take you on the viewing, or if we can do it there and then, we will do. If we can't, then you book and arrange a date and time to either come back to the office or meet at the property, and then we'll take you around. And then if we have something that's suitable for you, then we take it from there.
Okay. Yes, I would say, okay, I would like to take this one. So what is the next step?
So yeah, then once the offer's been accepted between yourself and the landlord, then that's when you put down the administration fee.
So you're negotiating between the landlords and between, for instance, myself?
Yes. So
I'm never going to meet with the landlord?
Generally speaking, I mean, generally not. The only time you ever meet a landlord is if they manage the property. But if we manage the property on behalf of the landlord, you will deal with us throughout the whole of your tenancy.
So I wouldn't get any involvement with the landlord if I'm contacting you? Okay.
No, so, not if we manage the property.
Okay, if the landlord manages its own, probably that property is not in your list. So that landlord advertises somewhere else, or it's a different area. Am I right?
Well, I mean, with properties that the landlords manage themselves, they will pay us to advertise the property and find a tenant for them. But after that, if they want to do the repairs and maintenance themselves, that's what they do.
Okay.
But if we're paid by the landlord, we do the repairs and maintenance and collect the rent for them.
That's a little bit new to I can tell from Hungarian background. In Hungary works quite totally differently, but I'm happy, that's why we're here for actually.
Yes, absolutely, yeah, that's
So yes, we went through to the credit check, we agreed with the price, and then...
and then of course once the reference and credit checks have come back, providing everything is okay, we then arrange a date and time to move you into the property. Of course, sometimes if the tenant is still living there who's vacating, then obviously we'll arrange a date and time once they've vacated and the property is being cleaned and
yes. And normally, roughly how long could take from the first opening the door here myself and then move into the property? A couple of weeks, months?
I mean, if the property is vacant, depending on the reference checks, we could generally move someone in within about a week or week and a half.
That's great.
If a tenant has just handed in their notice, their month's notice, requirements notice,
story, yes.
then we have to wait until they've gone. So it'll probably be roughly a month later.
All right then. So that's fine. I have kind of financial questions because if somebody is coming to the country, they probably haven't got full with the money. So how much deposit they need to bring with themselves to be able to move into the property?
Generally speaking, of course, it depends on every agency and how much they charge. But you'll have the administration fee, which roughly you're speaking between say 100 up to £200 depending on the agency.
Yes, obviously
and
it's very important.
And how many people are moving in. Your deposit, again, a lot of agents these days, it's a month and a half rent deposit. If you are a professional or if you're working as a company. If you are an international student without a guarantor, it is a 3-month deposit.
Okay, just make sure it could be, the minimum is 1 month deposit.
A month and a half.
Month and a half, okay.
Rent.
And on the top, do we need to pay the very first month as well?
Yeah.
So in total, it seems 2.5 months.
Yes, generally speaking.
Okay. It is important because we're talking quite a lot of money. If somebody hasn't got a job at the moment, they need to be prepared. So
yes,
it's better to know in advance rather than being surprised when they arrive to you and saying, oh, I haven't got that much money.
Oh, absolutely. You always pay your deposit in your first month's rent on the day that you move in.
All right then. And then what about the electric, the community cost? What about the bills? Are they going to pay by who?
Well, again, with regards to your council tax, electricity, gas, water, again, if the agents manage the property, we take the meter readings on the day that you move in, providing they're metered properties, or even if they're not, and then we personally inform the utility companies that they've moved in, the date, their names, and if there's a reading.
So the bills actually are coming to my name.
They're coming to your name, to your
and
address.
I have to pay it by myself, so it's not going to be deducted any from the monthly charge or anything.
No.
So it's totally different business. It's my responsibility.
Yes, I mean unless it's
just a basic,
inclusive of the bills, but majority of the cases will be you pay your rent and your bills on top of it.
Lovely. And what's happening if something broken in the property? Who do I need to contact, or shall I buy myself a new washing machine, or what's the situation there?
I mean, of course, when you move in, it's very important that you have an inventory check, which we do alongside with the tenant. So anything that needs doing when you move in will obviously generally be either potentially the past tenant's responsibility or the landlord to pay. During your tenancy, if there is a fault with the property, then the landlord will pay for it, and you contact either the landlord if they manage the property or us if we manage it. The only time the tenant is responsible is if you damage it yourself.
Okay. I remember when I moved in our very first property, we have to count the forks and the glasses, everything being counted, so it was quite strange for me.
Yeah, no, very important thing is that, so with all the forks and spoons, if there's all that in there, that's either there when you vacate. But of course, again, is to cover the landlord as well as yourself as a tenant, that if there are marks on the walls, if there's a scratch on the floor, everything is noted down, so we know whose responsibility it is, or if it's just wear and tear from the property being lived in.
When we moved out from that property, we had a huge surprise. quite bad one because we had to pay a lot of money on the top of our deposit, so we lost the deposit because I tell you why. We made a home, our property, so we decorated, we put a couple of pictures on the wall.
Yes.
And in Hungary you can do it, but here it's totally different. So what we should do, what we shouldn't be doing, could you just clarify it, because it was a huge bill and we weren't happy with that bill.
Of course, I mean, generally speaking, if you want to hang any shelves up, put any nails on the wall, redecorate, always ask the landlord's permission first. It is in the tenancy agreement in most cases. If they turn around and say yes, in general, most of the time they'll turn around and say yes as long as you rectify it when you move out. But like I said, as long as you ask the landlord's permission first and you have that in writing, then you've got yourself covered.
So basically we have to hand back the property when we're moving out, like we did move in.
Yes, yeah.
So totally the same.
Pretty much, I mean, minus wear and tear.
Yes.
Which is allowed, of course, but pretty much, unless the landlord has agreed, if you've both agreed together how to redecorate or what to do with the property, and that's been mutually agreed. But I mean, if you put that in writing and it's, like I said, it's agreed, and that's fine. But most of the cases, you just have to redecorate and put it back to how it was.
Lovely. Just one more thing for me, still bothering, if I wouldn't be able to provide any credit history or any credit check, or just for a good reason, not because I'm a criminal.
Yes, yeah.
Would I be able to, in other way, to get moved in a property, or I wouldn't have any chance at all?
No, I mean, we do try to work around, because obviously we understand that we're not having a UK credit history. What a lot of international tenants will do is, if they can, they will have a guarantor in the UK. If you don't have that, then generally you can negotiate with the landlord to pay a larger deposit, not necessarily 3 months, but maybe 2 months.
Okay.
We can try and do that.
Fantastic, thank you very much. All right then, do you have anything to explain in this kind of surroundings scenario, if somebody wants to rent, or shall we move on?
Well, it's up to you. I mean, like I said, the only thing I would stress is obviously every agency is different with how they work, and it is ultimately the landlord's decision. However, like I said, if we have, say, kind of copies of ID, maybe a letter-headed paper from work or from the university, and have that all documented, then generally we normally can come to an arrangement with the landlord to move you in.
Okay, what does it mean exactly, the guarantor? I know what it means, the word, but who could be a guarantor for somebody?
I mean, generally, it is going to be someone, a UK citizen, who is a homeowner, in full-time employment, roughly earning about 25,000 a year. That's the general basis of having a guarantor.
So they can't ask any friend, okay, please come with me, be my guarantor, but you haven't got any property here, you are not a resident. This kind of person cannot be.
No, they'll fail the checks.
Okay.
They will fail the checks.
Lovely. So, okay, can we just imagine I had enough to rent, I would like to have my own property.
Yes.
How can I start it?
In relation to buying?
Yes.
Okay. Well, just to put at the very end, if you wish to finish renting, it's very important that you always hand in a notice, your month's notice or your 2 months' notice, depending on your tenancy agreement.
Normally it's 2 months.
It depends on the agency, but always check the tenancy agreement, because we always ask for a month's notice in writing. So sometimes always being so clear. So that's the first stage. So then once you've know the date that you're going to be vacating and you hand in your notice, after that, then you do a checkout. So obviously you check through the property, close off all the utility accounts, and then you're ready to move on to buy if you wish to do so.
Okay. All right. And so I give my notice, and then I'm happy to move on in a month's time. Okay.
I mean, sales generally will take a bit longer than a month or so to complete, but with regards to sales, it's a lot of a simpler process compared to renting. So again,
simpler.
Yes, yeah.
Oh, really?
Yeah. So you do well in respect. Yes, I mean, you of course once you found a property that you wish to purchase, of course you have the negotiation between the vendor and yourself, and once that's been agreed, then you have what's called a memorandum of sale. Okay, which basically has the address that you wish to buy, your solicitor's details, and that's sent off to the solicitors, and it's their then responsibility to start getting the process moving.
Okay then, so is that so simple?
Well, sales are never that simple, but personally for us as the agent it is, because it is then up to the solicitors to then
and do you
all the paperwork.
Generally, sorry if I interrupt you, generally providing you a solicitor, or you have just a contact with someone who you can trust, who you can refer, and who you work with. So you're not necessarily having a solicitor in your office.
No, we don't. We have no one in house. We have no mortgage advisors in house either. We do have contacts that we can refer to that we know are trustworthy and good at their job, and that have helped out previous purchases.
So it's quite simple, yes, as you said, we can have a contact from here, so we don't need to run around the town to find a solicitor, a mortgage advisor, because you could refer somebody.
Yes, absolutely.
Okay, that's fine.
And then obviously we can pass them your details, or if you wish to have theirs, that's fine, and then you can obviously meet up with them and decide, find the best mortgage for yourself and the solicitor to draw up all the paperwork for you.
And I guess the complication could happen by the mortgage advisor rather than by you and by the solicitor, because you're just working with the details, but the mortgage advisor has to make sure they meet the financial requirement and they have all what they have to. So, but it's not your field, so it's not your business.
No, I'm afraid.
Do you know something about it? Or this because has to be said, we are talking about in year 2012, yes. So the economic and the situation could change. So at the moment, the expected deposit is quite high if somebody is want to buy a house.
Yes, I mean I know that generally speaking, the deposit is meant to be 20%.
20.
Yeah,
Okay.
but again that could change. But that at the moment is how much.
Okay then. We bought the house. We're happy to move in, and after a couple of years, we would love to sell it.
Okay.
What to do next? This is the last point. I'm not going to hold up you for too long now. I will appreciate your time.
No problem at all. I mean, again, you choose the agency that you wish to sell through. Of course, they will have their fees, whether it's 1.5%, 1.25%. So always find out the percentage first. And then again, with all the agents, they will come over, draw up details of your property, so room sizes, take photos, and we will put those up on all the websites that we use, same as we do for Rent, Rightmove, Zoopla, very big portals around the UK. And again, we take people on viewings. We always provide you, the landlord, the owner, with 24 hours notice before a viewing, so you have plenty of time to know we're coming round. And then again, it's the same process. If someone wants to buy your property, negotiate on a price you're both happy with, and then we start the process again. So
it's explaining it's much easier because it's just the other way around. You're not buying now, you're just selling. Okay. So what can we tell to people who are moving to UK, what they especially need to be aware of it, if you have some, not necessarily, just warming up, because I remember, and when I moved to UK, it was quite complicated for me because I came from a different system. So what you would stress, please be aware of it, because it is difficult, or be...
I mean, obviously what we've discussed mainly with the rentals is to ask the questions that we've discussed about. So when you go to the agency, if you see a property online that you like, contact the agency or call them and ask them about the administration fee, the deposit, if they need a guarantor, or if, depending on their work status. Also ask it, sometimes agencies do have extra fees like an inventory fee. So if you ask those questions first, then you'll have the basis of being able to rent a property.
Okay then, if you don't mind, I really appreciate it. Thank you so much. You have kind of success story here, and I would like to a little bit hear about it, if you don't mind, because it's it's a magic how your mom and then how you carried on this business. If you don't mind to explain in a couple of words, I think we would be happy to listen.
Of course. Well, yes. I mean, obviously this Arcade property, we're based in the Jewellery Quarter in Birmingham city centre, and it was my mum, who's actually Chilean, from South America, who started the business 12 years ago with her business partner Andrew, who's now my co-director. They started off in Solihull and then moved up to Birmingham when they saw the potential of the jewellery quarter and the property market, especially rentals flourishing in the city centre. And then about 3 years ago she decided she wanted to just go and enjoy her life, so I've taken over her role as the office manager in the accounts department and carried on from there.
That's fantastic, because so she came to UK,
yes,
and then from zero managed to be a hero, quite short period of time, am I right?
Yes, I mean, she started this again obviously 12 years ago, but she came to the UK, she didn't speak any English, she didn't know how the system worked, and just through, as we've discussed, very hard work and really wanting to make this country her home and do well for herself, she's built up a fantastic business which has thankfully been part of it's been passed down to me, and we've got a very good, big, successful team as well.
Okay, and your mum has only 5 properties, if I could remember, and now you have how many?
Yes, they started off with I think 4 or 5 properties in Solihull, just my mum and Andrew, and then over the years, through hard work, providing a good quality service for tenants, there's now 7 full-time members of staff with roughly 400 properties.
I think this could be a good motivation for people who are planning to come to the UK,
yes,
because it is really absolutely from nothing.
Yes, I mean, absolutely, it's very nerve-wracking we're starting in a new country, potentially not being able to speak the language so well, but as I said, through determination, and there's plenty of places and things you can go to
Sleepless
learn.
nights.
Sleepless nights, absolutely, and a lot of hard work. Absolutely, you can make it like my mum did.
So fantastic. I think if you don't have anything to you.
I think I've really covered everything that you need to know for property. But yeah, I think that's everything.
Okay, so we covered everything. I would love to say a huge thank you to you.
Pleasure.
Absolutely. And so I say this big thank you for on behalf of the entire world, because the UK is very popular and then people are happy to come here. So if you don't mind, I would love to give this.
Thank you so much.
And I need a little kiss.
Yeah, thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. All the best. So, thank you very much for your attention, and see you on the next series, which is going to be financial advices. So, Minda Goodbye.
Goodbye.